Hey, we're going to talk about one more hormone today, ghrelin. I'm sure this is another hormone you haven't heard of, right? So I find this one quite fascinating. So when you are running on an empty stomach, your hormone ghrelin is released. Ghrelin tells your brain that you need to eat. And when you're full and you've eaten, you're full, the message of ghrelin stops. So it's telling your brain to stop eating, the increase of ghrelin will stop and it will tell your brain to stop eating. So basically, under normal situations, ghrelin is at its highest before eating because you're hungry, and will be at its lowest after you've eaten because now you're satisfied and full. So with obese and overweight people, when they eat, studies have shown that ghrelin will actually only slightly decrease after a meal. So this often causes you to overeat and continue eating throughout the day, which further complicates the whole issue of eating too much and being obese. It just makes it harder to stop eating, right? Because your ghrelin levels are elevated. Under normal conditions, after you've eaten a meal and you're satisfied and full, these ghrelin levels should halt completely. They should stop and they should be low. But over time, with obese people, your brain receives weaker signals because you keep eating, and this leads to overeating. When you're hungry, ghrelin is present, and then you go get a snack, right? Okay, so the ghrelin would decrease the hunger and relieve the hunger, basically. But did you know that high levels of ghrelin when you're really hungry also stimulates HGH, or human growth hormone? This is good if you've listened to my past videos. So what you want to do is you want to wait longer to eat or eat less frequently to take advantage of this human growth hormone production. And this will allow ghrelin to be present and will cause human growth hormone to rise, which is good, right? Okay, so to totally take advantage of this human growth hormone, this spike when your ghrelin is high, you want to exercise when ghrelin is at its highest, which will spike the human growth hormone even more. So when you're hungry, right? So to properly take advantage of this, you need to start an intermittent, I cannot talk. You need to start IF, or intermittent fasting. Okay. So this is why I highly recommend that you work out in a fasted state, and preferably right before your first meal. If you work out when ghrelin is at its highest or at its peak, the last few hours of your fasting and right before your first meal that will break your fast, you will take advantage of the human growth hormone so much more. So this will also help nutritionally replenish your body and your muscles. When you eat that first meal, it will be so satisfying. So what happens is, in a normal lifestyle without the fasting, breakfast will actually decrease your ghrelin levels, which makes sense. If you eat right away first thing in the morning, it will bring your ghrelin levels down and your human growth hormone doesn't have a chance to spike, which you need with fat loss. And this sabotages your goal of better health and a better physique. So in order to retrain your hunger, you need to start fasting, and over time, as your ghrelin hormones level and normalize, the hunger will decrease and fasting will become easier. So that makes sense. The more you fast, you adapt, you get better at it, and you stop to feel so hungry. It's just like if you skip breakfast for a long time, you stop craving that breakfast because your ghrelin levels are normalizing and you're becoming more used to it. Interestingly enough, ghrelin also influences lifestyle habits. This is what I find so very interesting, because I have noticed in the past the connection between lack of sleep and hunger. So when you are suffering from lack of sleep, your ghrelin actually goes up. And this is why you feel hungry when you're tired, or you feel more, you're craving more carbs and stuff like that. So you want to lower your ghrelin levels by eating, but really you need more sleep. So this is why lack of sleep is linked to weight gain. All right, so stress, anger, sadness, and other negative emotions also increase this hunger hormone, ghrelin. And that's why we seek comfort in foods. Interesting, eh, guys? It all makes sense. So, by getting all of your hormones, insulin, leptin, and ghrelin, back to normal with intermittent fasting, we are finally going to feel and look our absolute best.